everyone, and welcome again to Marketing Automation Made Simple podcast. My name is Jovana, and I'm the founder of bumperleads.com. And we specialize in helping you simplify and automate your sales and marketing systems so you can save time and money. Today, I wanted to talk to you guys and bring in some of our team members today because I wanted to share more about the segmentation, what we talked about in our previous episodes, but also how we apply segmentation to grow systems for businesses. Depending on what type of industry, regardless of the industry you're in, you need to have a marketing growth system, and technology helps us do that. And if you have the right segmentation rules, you can achieve some really big things in your business. So today I have Milena again joining me. And we also have Corey, who is our senior systems integration specialist. He normally lives in a dungeon somewhere. So today I've decided to take him out. I think he was on good behavior. Hey, Corey.
Hello, how are you? Excited. It'll be the first time I think our audience is going to get put to sleep with technical talk. So it should be interesting.
Yay.
Well, we get excited when we talk technology. So if you're listening, our listeners actually, they join us because they love what we do and they love to learn about marketing and systems. So what I wanted to talk about with you, Corey, is that you've done some really fascinating projects.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we were quite, even us, surprised as to what we can actually do and achieve with the right tech stack. And going back to some of our previous episodes that we've done, we talked about our blueprint that we implement for clients. So normally when somebody comes in to work with us, our ideal process is that we go through a strategy process where we actually put a marketing automation strategy in place, which helps us pretty much map out exactly what happens before a customer makes a purchase, what happens during, what happens after.
Mm-hmm.
So then Corey and Milena would come in and get involved building these systems and setting it all up for customers and training them as well on how to run the systems. So Corey has been doing, how many projects have you done so far?
I would say over 250. And the funny thing is that the amount of actual similarities between customers, but then also the stark differences that cause us to sort of scratch our heads and think, okay, I can't believe after 250 customers that I'm being asked something for the first time. And this actually happened recently with one of our clients. You can call them, I guess, the light aircraft version of car sales, which was a really big thing for us. And it taught us a few new things, especially around the segmentation side of things, where we didn't think that was possible in ActiveCampaign.
ActiveCampaign is the CRM that we chose
Correct.
For that particular client because, and the reason why we choose ActiveCampaign, especially for small businesses, is that it's the most agile platform that we've played with. I'm sure there's all these other ones that, if you're familiar with HubSpot and all these bigger names, they're all capable of doing the same things. It's just how you execute it and what you enjoy working with. So we chose ActiveCampaign for this client. What's the we call it tech stack. What's the tech stack?
So essentially for this company, it's quite a simple tech stack, actually. It's mainly ActiveCampaign, Google, so obviously utilizing Google Sheets, Gmail, and so forth, and then using Zapier as a conduit. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later. But obviously, and then the background on the website using third-party form builders, such as this one was using Contact Form 7, because again, we've done a few different interesting things in regards to capturing data from the website as well.
Okay, yeah, so it's very simple, basic. I would say that's a basic tech stack.
Very basic tech stack, but that's essentially where the basic ended for that project. This was, again, one of the very first times that I've had to scratch my head and go, okay, how do we actually achieve this? From the customer's perspective, it seemed really simple for him. He wanted to connect buyers and sellers in regards to aircrafts. But he didn't want to just do that. He wanted to branch out into other things such as connecting with external third parties for finance, for insurance, for maintenance, for actually bringing in and allowing a database of pilots to actually quote, to actually have that plane that someone's purchased actually be delivered to their doorstep. So there were a lot of different, questions that arose from this. And the biggest one, which if anyone that actually understands the CRM landscape, is actually to have two contacts within that CRM actually be connected and talk to each other. And how do we achieve that? So that was a really hard and interesting thing to actually achieve within ActiveCampaign, is actually how do we have two contacts that are essentially strangers, all of a sudden they're connected via the tech stack and the processes that we set up.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. But when the client came to us, they came in with a simple problem, which is, this is what I want to do. I want to start this website that will connect all these stakeholders, of my business together. And I want to be hands off. I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to be following up with customers. All of his life, the client was hands on with clients and following by phone. This is his first introduction into the digital landscape and how to use technology to help him communicate and also save time. And as somebody who was in sales, his mind was, he's like, oh my gosh, this is a blank canvas, and these guys can just go and paint something. Anything I imagine can be built. So in my mind, I'm getting this impression that what we've ended up building with just these, I call them off-the-shelf tools, is really a product. It's a software product that we built for that particular client, and they didn't have to hire software developers and app integrators.
Although there wasn't developers per se, we did have to do some very smart things, such as when someone goes onto the website and they look at a particular listing, there was a contact seller sidebar that comes up with the actual button to actually contact that seller. Now, when the potential buyer clicks on that button, all they see is email, their name, their email, and a contact message. What they don't see is these hidden cells that are sitting in the background that are actually connecting who is actually listing that plane, their email address, the actual listing. And because of all of that data that's enriched and coming onto that actual contact seller form, we're then able to actually create that relationship in the background of ActiveCampaign between the buyer and the seller. And that was really interesting. The way we're able to actually make that connection is via Zapier. So in Zapier, when someone submits that contact seller form, then obviously with those hidden data points, we're actually able to then make that connection and communicate independently from that one submission. We're able to communicate independently to both the buyer and the seller, and obviously make notifications in the system to the actual owner of the account as well. Although a lot of those notifications have been turned off because he thought it was a great idea to be notified every time something happened, but he realized quickly that that wasn't a good idea.
Too many notifications. Yes. So can you give us an example of that digital transformation when it went live?
It was a stressful time for both myself and the owner of this new, very fancy website with all of these automations and connections happening, because he was originally running on an old HTML website. He was doing everything obviously manually. So it was an exciting time for both me and the owner. It was amazing to just see everything run so seamlessly, because what we do at Bumper Leads before we even make anything live is, and this is where obviously I would get a lot of headaches, and the clients don't see this, but I test something until it breaks. I literally look for the 0.5% scenario of what might happen in the real world, and you typically focus 90% of your time on how do you correct and not allow that to happen.
But from a customer perspective, they didn't see any difference. Like
No,
everything was system generated, but
exactly.
They were getting like a personalized
email.
So
in that personalized email, so when let's say I am the actual potential buyer and I contact the seller, I get a notification from ActiveCampaign that basically says, welcome to this aircraft sales product. And I would like to let you know that we've passed all of your inquiry details on to the seller. The seller's name is this. The seller's email address is this. We ask them nicely, do not contact the seller. The seller will receive your information and will be reaching out to you. However, here are the details just in case after, let's say, 5 days or a certain amount of time that seller doesn't reach out. So what we do is we actually have a lot of custom fields in the background that are attached to buttons. So they can actually click that to email, click that to phone. So we have all of these smart systems set up. So it seems very simple from both the buyer and the seller perspective, but obviously a lot of intelligence in the background that makes everything work.
I remember, working on this together. Sometimes you go, swear words, insert swear words. How does this not work? Why is this breaking?
Well, it was a lot of, I guess, intuitive and
customers don't see it. Our clients never see it.
I guess the first time having errors or things you don't think of that could potentially happen, such as, let's say someone fills out a form, because obviously there are not just the contact seller forms, there are also, let's say that sale actually goes through, the buyer can then actually contract a pilot to actually request a quote from all the pilots that are in the database, and they can essentially put in all of their details in regards to what they want out of that quote. And the issue is that they could potentially get, 7, 8, 9 quotes back from those pilots all at the same time. Now, how do we manage that in ActiveCampaign when it's purely going from, let's say, that quote form from the pilot into one, I guess, bank of custom fields against the contact? Like, what do we do with that? So we quickly learned, no, we actually need to actually create a deal pipeline, and the deal pipeline in ActiveCampaign is usually used for sales, but you can use it for many things. We've used it for production. So when people are, let's say, a printing company, we can create it as a production pipeline rather than a sales pipeline for actual physical jobs that they have running through the printing factory. But for this case, we've used it to actually allow all of these pilot quotes to actually exist as a single opportunity / deal on the CRM pipeline.
Yeah, but the printing company that we helped, they don't have a large database. They're small, mom and dad type of business,
Correct.
Very small business, and all they needed to do is just streamline their processes. They had everything was paper based.
Exactly. Yes.
And once we implemented that, it was a transformational experience for them. Just something they could not have imagined, but they were able to achieve this on $50, $70 a month plan, and that's really we're not adding any extra costs. They're saving a lot of time and money just by having a system like that in place. Milena, can you talk to us about how Klaviyo works in terms of segmentation?
Well, Klaviyo does have good segmentation processes, I guess, features. You can easily segment contacts inside Klaviyo, but what you can't do is you can't create complex segmentation. So you can do, for example, segmentation for when a customer browses a specific product, sees a specific product on your website. how many times they've purchased. You can segment on total spend. You can segment on abandoned carts, on forms, just on particular actions that someone does inside Klaviyo. I was just listening to what Corey was explaining about ActiveCampaign and segmentation. And if I compare Klaviyo to ActiveCampaign, for ActiveCampaign, you can imagine any process and you can create that inside ActiveCampaign. So any business process you can basically set up inside ActiveCampaign and automate it if you want to systemize it. But with Klaviyo, you're kind of limited to what Klaviyo decides for you. So it's not as agile, it's not as flexible as ActiveCampaign. Like, for example, I worked with an e-commerce client recently, and they have a specific VIP program that they wanted to run. And they wanted to, it's not a simple VIP where, for us, a simple VIP program would be, okay, someone buys once, someone buys twice, someone buys 3 times or 4 times, and then we'll segment those customers accordingly, according to the purchases, and then we'll nurture them and create sequences around those segments. But for this particular VIP program, what they wanted to do is they wanted to complicate it a little bit. So not leave it as simple as that. So, and they're using Klaviyo, and I really had to think hard on this, how you would implement this inside Klaviyo. How would you send a welcome email to one segment and not to another segment? How would you organize repeat purchases for these particular segments? So I'm not going to go into too much detail about what this VIP program was. All I'm going to say is, if they wanted to do this, if they wanted to have their VIP program in place, it could be easily achieved in ActiveCampaign to be run basically according to what they wanted the VIP program to be.
But, with Klaviyo, for example, and with other CRMs, you have this ability to connect and integrate different apps. Like Corey's solution was more based around certain, majority of the work was done in ActiveCampaign, but then you do need to connect and integrate with other websites, with the integrators like Zapier, Make, and others that are popular. So with Klaviyo, for example, it does have native integration with Shopify, really good deep data integration. But then you would have to go and sign up to more apps in order to achieve that particular VIP, let's say, that scenario that the client has imagined.
It's almost as if they needed a loyalty app, like some loyalty additional app they'll have to purchase to achieve what they needed to achieve. Yeah, so that was interesting to compare the two, ActiveCampaign and Klaviyo.
Segmentation, all I'm imagining as both Corey and Milena are explaining what we do here and how we implement that. I imagine our clients thinking about this. And if they sign up to ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo and they try to do this themselves, like, where would you start? And we've had clients like that in the past.
Oh, absolutely. So there are some, unfortunate circumstances in the past where, clients have started with this themselves. And it just depends on how long they're willing to, I guess, try and achieve it themselves. I'm not saying that people can't. This is, very easy to learn, but it does take time to understand what you can and can't do. And it's obviously over the space of so many projects that we actually really understand and learn quickly what can and can't be done. Because with a blank canvas, you can paint a great picture, or you can create an entire mess where you don't even understand what's being painted. And unfortunately, with automation, that can create havoc in your business. You can end up losing sales rather than gaining sales in regards to what automation can do.
It does amplify. It can amplify problems.
Yes.
In the business.
That's why we plan before we automate, right? Before we even start creating segments, thinking about tags, emails, and so on. This is where you have that bumper blueprint that Jovana talks about a lot.
Yes, it does make everything easy in regards to knowing how to actually structure and build, because we do have that foundation and understanding of both the system and obviously our segmentation, tagging structure, just basically the blueprint that we have and how important that is to actually achieve what the client needs.
And we do have our ability for clients to actually do it themselves, just following our system.
Yes.
So they could eventually come to us and say, hey, I really want to learn this. I want to do it myself. Can you coach me? Can you guide me? Can you help me do that? Once we explain the process and they go through some of the online modules, we have some online courses as well. It's all self-paced, and they can just use us. Use us. That's a good term. They can just come to us, ask us questions, and we're available there to answer via email or over Zoom. Sometimes we meet over Zoom. But we get excited about all these ideas because even Corey gets excited just by talking about all the tech talk, all the geek stuff, because it challenges us as well. It gives us something interesting to do. It's a challenging tasks and more interesting than basic.
New projects, always unique projects that we work on, and we learn something new with every project.
One of the projects that sort of come to mind, which really relies on heavy level segmentation, and that is, it's actually a luxury surf holiday destination tours. So they focus on the luxury surf side of travel, which is a very great small niche. But they actually have two different businesses. So they have the luxury surf side, and then perfectly to marry up with that, they actually have a music side as well. So they actually do small events where they bring in really big names, really big artists from across the world to a small island where you can basically book and, let's say, go to the Maldives and listen to, let's say, a good Australian artist like Jimmy Barnes and a few other people.
Sounds like a fun business.
Exactly, yes.
I want to work there.
So obviously this one here, we have a single CRM that actually has to manage two different businesses within the one CRM. It has multiple pipelines, so different sales pipelines that focus again on different sides of the business. There are also sales teams, not just here in Australia, but globally. So then we have to look at like the geo-specific regions of who are these customers, where are these leads coming from, and make sure that they actually feed through to A, the right business, and B, the right salespeople. So that was a really interesting project. And that integrates with e-commerce platforms, website, Zapier again, because we're actually talking to a third-party API, and that's sort of a closed system. That's sort of one of their more dinosaur archaic systems that they are holding on to at the moment, where it's a bit of a one-way traffic in regards to the information that gets sent through. Really interesting project.
Yeah, I remember seeing this when you were explaining the project to me in the beginning, and I saw a contact go through, and they might be based in Australia and they're booking for a trip in Maldives. Then you have a travel agent who is designated to manage Maldives. I think it's Maldives, not Maldives. And then a customer would send an inquiry, place a booking, and all the automations would come as if the Maldives travel agent sent to the customer, but it's all automatically done.
Correct.
And the customer just sees what they need to see, which is their whole communication with the same person they've been talking to on the phone.
Correct. So that's one of the big things that they ask for is not only do we want to see a clear segmentation of our clients and their locations and the products that they're after, but we actually want to make a clear segmentation of our sales teams and actually ensure that if a customer has a key point of contact, all of that communication comes from that salesperson. Only if that salesperson, and this is an interesting one, only if the salesperson tags themselves in the system as being on holiday. Now that's an interesting one. This is something we had to set up. If that salesperson had to tag themselves as being on holiday, would they actually fall back to another salesperson and there was a backup system while that person was on holiday? So that was a really interesting one to do. But yeah, that was very cool process.
Yeah, very good. So for our listeners, they might be listening to this and going, wow, this is complicated. My business is not that complicated. I mean, these are all simple businesses and small businesses. It's more about how to go about solving these problems, because there's so many angles and levels to define to solve these problems. And technology can be helpful in that regard, but you still need to have some kind of know-how yourself to identify what you're capable of identifying, as well as what the technology is capable of doing. Essentially, every business really needs to have very basic levels of segmentation. And where I see a lot of that happening with any business, whether you're an e-commerce, service-based business, software business, you need to be able to define who is a lead and who is a customer.
Correct, yes. In ActiveCampaign, essentially, the highest level of segmentation is lists. And we try not to have too many, but it does depend on the actual business and the way it's designed. But essentially, we like to keep it down to as small as 3 lists if we can. And that is being a subscriber or a newsletter list. That's obviously someone that is interested in information, but they haven't inquired or they haven't actually asked a specific question in regards to a particular product or service. So the next would be a lead, which is someone that has asked for a specific product or service. And then obviously a customer where they have actually put money down and they have potentially been closed on a deal pipeline or something in ActiveCampaign. The most important thing is actually, and this is something that we do in the Bumper Blueprint, is all the hygiene automations that we actually do in the background to make sure that you can actually identify who these people are, because it's very easy to add people to things and add tags to people and add custom fields to people. But we need to learn to actually take those identifications away if that client or that lead actually proceed further down the track. So if someone is a customer, then you want to unsubscribe them from the lead list because they have converted. So all of these small things that make a really big difference.
Well, in addition to segmenting customers, prospects, leads, like Corey explained inside ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo, you can also segment your whole list based on highly engaged contacts or unengaged contacts as well, because that's important later down the track. So one of the first things we do is, yes, we segment who the customer is, who the prospect is, but we also know who opens emails, who clicks on things, who is most likely to engage with your emails and open your emails. We also think that as a bare minimum, you should have those segments created in either platform. So it doesn't matter if it's ActiveCampaign or Klaviyo.
Yeah, as a business owner, you would think when you have an inquiry or somebody's calling you, it doesn't have to be an email all the time, but if you have an inquiry via phone, you enter this information into your CRM. That CRM is supposed to let you know, how long has it been since this client or lead has reached out to you? Does it give you a reminder? How engaged are they? Are they reading all your blogs, and are they, listening to your podcasts? Whatever you have online, how engaged they are. So all of that information can sit inside a CRM. If you use a spreadsheet, you will be struggling to do all of what we've just talked about.
Yes, I agree. But the beauty is you don't have to lose those spreadsheets. Some people love spreadsheets. Some people want to have data sitting somewhere else. Well, would you believe in ActiveCampaign, we can add a spreadsheet task within the automation. So we can actually add all that data to your spreadsheet while actually bringing you into the 21st century.
So they can keep their spreadsheet and also use ActiveCampaign. I know some people love those spreadsheets.
Well, the beauty of a spreadsheet is obviously you can use that to manipulate the data outside the CRM, which is a fantastic thing to do. And we're able to then grab all of that custom data that sits against a lead, contact, or customer inside the system and actually enable that to be housed externally.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for your insights. Greatly appreciated. I was just thinking with AI that's coming up. I know that it's already been launched in US, where Google and Microsoft obviously will have their own version, but Google has now launched their own version of AI built into the Google Workspace. So we use Google for Business, and there's always been some elements of AI already working, which is to help with the automation, or like when I said reminders, following up with leads. In my Google Gmail, I actually get a little note if I send an email to someone and it's been 3 days or 4 days or 5 days, it doesn't actually, I don't receive a reply or a response. Then it comes up with a little flag and it says, would you like to follow up or due for follow up? So that is a very simple current thing that's happening now. But what they're trying to do now is to actually elevate that so that you could use Google Sheets or a spreadsheet. You could use it as a little assistant to produce reports and to clean your data. You don't have to remember any formulas anymore. And so it will save you time, but it can also help you create presentations. And you could ask it to come up with table of contents. When you have a blank document, it will just give you some ideas around what you can do and type with whatever topic you want to type about.
We've covered this before on about AI, how many things people can do nowadays with AI.
So we've covered quite a lot in our conversation today with Corey and Milena. Our listeners might be scratching their heads.
Yes, from simple to complex segmentation.
Yes. Maybe we needed to segment our audience before creating this blog post.
It's a marketing automation made simple.
Yes.
I hope it was simple enough to understand how you can use technology to help you grow your business.
Yes.
But it's all about possibilities of segmentation. I don't think people actually know what they can segment, what's possible. You can segment based on behavior. It's not just customer or lead. It's about, what type of products they're browsing or pages they're looking at. You can segment your list and then create tailored response or messages to them that you can send them. I mean, it's all about these opportunities that people don't see that are possible with these tools that we use every day.
I mean, one of the most simple, I guess, examples of how granular you can get with segmentation is, let's say you are an e-commerce store owner and you have a surplus of women's medium black t-shirts. ActiveCampaign or other CRMs can basically go, well, here are all the people that have purchased that t-shirt in that color and that size, and you can literally have a targeted campaign that's literally going out to just those people. You can even, just decide we just want to look at the medium size. We don't need to worry about the color. You can go down to that level.
Limitless.
And now, I mean, you'd be surprised how many businesses don't do that. I mean, I get newsletters. I get, newsletters about shoes and clothes, and they still don't know my size. I buy from these companies, but they don't know my size. They don't send me emails or newsletters relevant to me. So that's maybe failed segmentation on their end. Like they haven't really thought about how to segment their contacts. And I think it would be useful. I think nowadays people would be expecting more personalized communication from companies. They would expect, as a customer, I would expect that.
Thank you so much, guys, for sharing your insights with our listeners today. I am confident this is simple. It is simple enough to understand. Whether it's simple enough to execute, well, you know who to talk to. You can come and talk to us for implementation help, or check us out on bumperleads.com. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you. So reach out. And if you have any questions around segmentations, one of us will be happy to help.
Absolutely.
Until next time.